Hello, hello. How's it going, everybody? Overlay just turned on, I guess. It's Android time. Are we ready for this? I made sure that I had everything installed. So rather than doing it this morning and trying to speedrun it this morning, I have confirmed that I have Android Studio installed and the emulator starts. So we're not going to run into any like weird gotchas. But I might just like redo the process from sort of scratch so as to or at least we'll like highlight the bits that I needed to come back to and check. Because I did have a previous version of Android Studio installed. Because we did it on stream when it was still in beta, I think V2 beta or alpha maybe, and I did it on this computer, and I haven't done Android on this computer since. So, Rude Rush, good to see you, Mati. Thanks for stopping by. Mati new. Nice. How is it going, everybody? All right. Let us get to it here. And where? Oh, I got the browser open and this. Okay. There we go. Dungel, good to see you. Good to see you. All right. So I've got Android Studio open. And the bits that I did go through, let's make all of this just a little bit bigger. In the prerequisite section, we have a list of the bits that you need to make sure you have installed and working prior to like really doing anything. You don't have to do the mobile if you're not developing for mobile. The desktop bits are kind of still required regardless of which one you're doing. So we've done a lot of Rust on this stream. If you're new to the stream or watching the VOD, thanks for stopping by. We do a lot of Tauri. So I've had the desktop stuff installed and I've been like upgrading it over time for quite a while. And that includes Rust. So I don't need to do any of these steps. We have Node.js installed as well. Same deal, but the bits that you may, if you haven't done mobile development yet, you may need to do these steps. We did iOS 2 weeks ago. I think it was 3 weeks ago, 2 weeks ago. And that only works on Mac, so I had to pull up my Mac for that. Today we're doing Android. I went through these steps. I did actually have a previous install of Android Studio. So this is what Android Studio looks like. I don't know if might have to bust out the magnifier. When you first install it, it opens up like this. You don't really need a new project. We're not using the IDE from Android Studio or their project, or like it's not required. This little bit was not terribly obvious. I feel like they had made it more obvious before, but within here, if you go to SDK Manager, that's the step number 3. You need to make sure that you have those bits installed. I had already set the Java home. I don't know if I'd done that previously. I had both Java home, Android home, and NDK home already set. So we might have just did that. And I think they're all the same. They're the current versions. Because this is on 26. And we are on NDK. It doesn't actually say it here. I don't see the version where. Let's see, 36. Well, I'm pretty sure this is pointing to the latest. We could probably here, let's just go, let's do an ls. I'm gonna just copy and paste because why not? Whoop. Switch my keyboard to Windows layout. That's why my copy and paste didn't work. All right, ls this. What the heck? Why isn't my copy and paste working? Copy, paste. What? I mean, is this how we're gonna start the stream? Copy, paste. Weird. My terminal is not wanting to copy. Okay, I guess we'll do the little right-click copy. I think that still works. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so I have 2 versions of NDK. We might need to poke at that. So if we do the same for echo env Android home. So there's an ls-l Android home. Oh. Also, if you haven't noticed, my syntax is slightly different because I am using a tool called new shell. New shell is a newer shell, which it works. It's like cross-platform, so it is built in Rust, and I have it installed on a couple different platforms in it. The interface is the same between all of them. It has some fancy features, but some features are also different from Bash. So if you are looking at, like here they note the $sign to use the environment variable within this. That's not going to work because of no shell. Rudrash, you had a question regarding notifications in Android on Tauri 2. We are going to pull up the same project that we had started on mobile, which already has, air quotes, notifications set up. So bring it up when we get to that point where there's not too much more to go here. Okay, so we've got an NDK. I don't know if I should delete the old NDK. Side by side installed. I don't see any other NDK in here. Oh, hide obsolete packages. Can I uninstall? Uninstall. I don't. What version was that on? 26 and 28. Yeah, I'm not sure why. Like, it doesn't appear that I have it installed. Like, according to this. Okay, well, it worked before, so I'm not going to worry too much about it. We know here that we need to use the SD, or we need to have these 5 pieces installed. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The one that's not listed that I checked is the emulator hypervisor driver. I don't know if you actually need it or not, but I had it installed previously, so I just went with it. Sure, we can remove it. Then I had previously Android 14. I switched to Android 15, so I uninstalled. I mean, it says partially installed. I'm not quite sure why. why I would still, maybe because it still has some like INI config type files kicking around, but these encompass these. So I think we're good there. The other bit that gave me a little bit of trouble was I think there might be some errors or something that happen with the emulators and that attachment to and starting up the emulators. And those errors, I think, are not being exposed by the Tauri CLI. So that's something that maybe either I'm holding it wrong or we would want to expose that a little bit better. But I had to go into the device manager. And you can add any devices. They've got like previously or like a you know, all the pixels, and then you can choose whatever other phone. TV, nifty. But like you'll see, there's no like Samsung, or there's no other ones. So you can do things like make your own profiles. So if you're developing for a specific device, it might make sense to do that. I just did a Pixel 9 because it is new. The thing that tripped me up though was prior to doing this, I had I had two emulated devices, and they had like an error, like some. I should have taken a screenshot or something. I wasn't thinking about it. It was like missing files or something was out of date, or I think I had installed Android 15, so maybe it wasn't working because it was expecting Android 14. I'm not quite sure or remember exactly what the error was. But I opened this panel up, and there was two of them there that had like red X's. So it said there was an error. As soon as I removed those and added a new device, then it started working. And I confirmed that I had all these installed. They were still installed. And I went through and I did a Rust update and everything. So we are, if we hop on over to the mobile Tauri Playground, check out that URL, Tauri Playground, if you want to see any of these things that we've done in the stream. I try to be good about pushing them up to make sure that y'all have a reference. If we do a stream and I haven't specifically called out a repo, check there. If it's not there, then leave a comment and remind me, because I'm human, I do my best, and sometimes I forget to push it up. So let's go over to the mobile, and we'll go ahead and open that up, and we can, we are on 1.83 for Rust. All right, why do I have open JDK? Well, I don't know. I guess there's potentially Java stuff in here. All right, MKJA. Please keep doing these. Yesterday, your app got running on your phone for development. Older versions of Android SDKs was messing with the compile. Yeah, I noticed that too, that, I mean, to be fair, the mobile stuff is still first release, so I wouldn't expect the docs to be perfect. And I think everybody's sort of aware that there could be more effort and time put into the docs for the mobile. But also, I feel that pain. It seems like we need a lot of foundation there too, to sort of help with this, which is part of why I'm, I will continue to keep doing these. But in general, I haven't had like a strong use case for mobile, which is why we haven't done it on stream. But it seems everybody's interested in it, and I had time off, so it felt like a good time to hop into it. Because why not? I mean, if my app can work on desktop and then without too much additional configuration work on mobile as well, then that's pretty sweet. It is definitely different though. Like it's not the way that you debug on mobile is different than you debug for the desktop setup. And I don't. I think all of that could use a little bit more elbow grease. It's there. It seems to work. It seems folks are shipping it, but unless you've done, Android or iOS development before, some of this stuff can end up being a trip. So yeah, older Android SDKs were messing with the compile. Yeah, I don't know that there's a good answer for that as far as documentation goes. A lot of that starts to fall into, which to be clear is something we probably need to qualify and point out. If folks are getting into mobile development through Tauri, our docs could use pointers out to places where they would where somebody could go to find more information. Because at some point we're basically just like handing off to Android in Android Studio. And if you get this weird compile issue, it might be an issue with the setup in Tauri, but it also might just be set up with your Android local dev situation. Like I said, I haven't had a strong use case to do it, just like Android development in general or iOS. In part because like the interest is there, but there's only so much time in a day. So mobile development was just one of those things that I was always like, when I have time, maybe we'll do it. But until then, Oh, and hey, look, there's an update available. So this is actually a good example. In the SDK manager, when you go in here, you can have multiple versions of Android installed. And as they release new updates, you'll get this like line check mark and it'll say update available. If you check the box, now it's going to download it when you hit apply. And that's how you get that's how you continue to get updates. And was it in the virtual device manager? I think edit. We can, I believe, choose. Yep, here we can change which version of Android it's using. So when you're doing your local dev, the emulated device uses one of those Android versions. So that's how those match up. As far as the compile goes, that's really hard to say. Like what? I mean, if you want to support older Android versions, you want to keep them around. Yeah, that's hard to say without knowing more. Like what possibly could have been the issue. Because like they support they have a list of platforms pretty far back. And the compile is mostly driven by this. So I don't think it's anything specifically with Android Studio. So it could very well be that these needed an update. In which case, I think probably the recommendation and maybe something that we could add to the docs would be to that rust up update, at some reasonable interval. It's your first time doing an Android app is with Tauri. Nice. Yeah. I imagine that's going to be not an uncommon situation that folks are going to get into mobile development through Tauri. So being able to say like, knowing where you have crossed the line from this is potentially a Tauri issue to this is potentially an Android issue is helpful. And we definitely don't have that in the docs. So I'd like to say that great answer. You're welcome. I'd like to say that I'll spend some time on the docs, but every time I say that, I get distracted by other stuff. Hopefully, I mean, we'll keep talking about it, and we'll bring things up into the docs channel within Discord, or feel free to make PRs if this ends up being helpful and you see ways to improve it. Alexi, good to see you again. You made your first mobile app with Flutter, but for me, it's much easier and faster to use JS front end frameworks, Tailwind, etc. I think the thing that I appreciate too about using web tech within the app development space, the CSS is incredibly powerful, and the tooling around CSS and being able to style your app is very powerful. And I think that's probably honestly one of the biggest differentiators between that and something like something with more native development, like Qt. There's a lot of apps made with Qt. Seems to work well. I mean, people are shipping with it, but also you can tell when the app is made with it because you only have access to a certain amount of components. And in some ways, like, that's why there's consistency in some of these spaces like iOS. If you're using basically their like built-in components, it comes with the built-in styling. There's not a whole ton of flexibility in some of these platforms, which is both a pro and a con. People get used to it, and they're used to seeing what those icons look like. But then the con is there's only so much differentiation you can do as far as look and feel. So I think I'm with you, Alexi. I mean, I've also done a lot more web tech too, so that familiarity is really nice to be able to ship. Okay, so I think we have everything set up here. When you get Android Studio installed, you confirm the virtual device manager and the SDK manager are in like have the settings you want, the settings you need per the prerequisites, wherever they went, because I zoomed in too much, per the prerequisites, and whatever virtual devices you want. Actually, let's add in another one. Let's go with a slightly different form factor. I mean, TV would be kind of fun. I don't know that there's going to be I mean, it would be cool to do a TV app. I don't know if that's on the cards for streaming, at least, though. Let's do a Pixel Fold. It's got if you're unfamiliar with that phone, it literally folds open. So you get this almost squarish aspect ratio and TV app. I know folks have done experiments, right? Where's the button? There we go. Yeah. Those like eclectic use cases are really interesting because the like technical, hey, these things are working together, parts of my interest definitely get tickled with that. Like what's the word I'm looking for? Kiosk apps where you go to your local fast food restaurant and they have the screen where you can order your food at an app. Those would be like considered a kiosk app. Like those kind of situations, or like TV apps. They've all traditionally been developed very separately. I think more and more, though, we're starting to see these done with like web tech type things. I'm pretty certain that LG's what do they call it? WebOS, I think it is. I think that is actually like WebView web tech. Don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty certain it has a lot of web tech involved with it, which is why they call it WebOS. So more and more you're seeing that kind of support. But being able to actually like put it on those platforms is just still really cool to see. All right, we're gonna do a Pixel Fold, and here you can see It does give some other options in here with some expectation that you need to download them. We have the middle one installed here, so we're going to just continue using that for now. I'm guessing Baklava is the version 16. And then we've got 14. You might not be able to see it. It's a little bit hard to see, and the text contrast is not very high. But we're gonna just go with that. Landscape, sure. All of that should probably be fine. Then we'll hit finish. Okay, so now we have two options. When we are running this, now it's going to ask us. I did previously do an npm run Tauri Android init. If you do a create Tauri app, it has it sets up everything that you need with an extra message that says, hey, you need to initialize it if you want to do iOS or Android. Because if we look at my folder, not that one. I got to open up the root, because that's where VS Code will see the Git repository. This is why we ask folks to do an init, because if you're not doing mobile development, you don't need all of this. A lot of changes. You can see we're using there's some Kotlin that comes in here. Swift on iOS, Kotlin on Android. So if we look in this folder, we have initialized both. Where was it, Jen? We have initialized both iOS and Android. So that's why we have those two folders. So we've done an Android init already. Now we can do an Android dev. It is going to ask us, I guess we just type it out. It is going to ask us which Android emulator we want to use. And this is going to show the list of emulators that we've configured in the Android Studio. We're going to start with the first one. And we're going to let it start up. Oh, that boot was real fast. If you only have one emulated device listed, it's just going to use that by default. It's not going to ask you every time. If you have multiple, then it's going to ask every time. You can see it's doing a few things. It's hooking up and wiring up to the emulator. It is running Vite, which is going to be for my front end. So it's running the Vite dev server, and it's doing the Rust compile. It's going to continue doing stuff sort of like in the background. Our emulation or our emulated layer or emulated device is already running. That stood up rather quickly because I had previously done it. It is making noise at me. And you can see all of this, all that compile stuff that was happening. That's Rust compile with the, like the Android bits compiling and running the app and then pushing it out to the emulator. So once that process is done, we start getting the communication with Android Studio, which is kind of chatty, if I'm being honest. But then our app starts up, and we have a, it's a fully emulated piece. Shows up as an app. What else do we got in here? Yep. So it's called mobile. That's what our app is actually called. And if we do hello chat, whoa, go away. We get the notification. Okay. I think that's a good place. Red Rush, you had a question regarding notifications, right? So a couple bits here. I had, again, to confirm that everything was working and I wouldn't run into issues where I needed to do more installs. iOS tends to it feels like it tends to like have you install stuff all up front. Android Studio feels a little bit more like we'll install it when you need it, which is nice because it saves space on your computer, but not so nice when you're trying to stream it because you don't want to run it in accidental installation. When we streamed it, when Amran came on the stream, we had a couple of installs that we had to wait for, which was a little bit annoying. But that being said, I've opened up the app already, and we have multiple permission requests because we're doing the notifications here. We're doing the haptic feedback, and then we have the scan feature. So after we poke around with this a little bit and answer Rudrash's question, we'll open up the Pixel Fold version, see what it looks like on there, and we'll be able to see those permission requests show up. So I think we didn't really have much of a way to identify that these bits were happening. And like some of what we're going to do too is like figure out how to see things in the debugger. But so one of the things we ran into, we were crashing on iOS. I think if we hit the scan button, but also like the haptic feedback wasn't crashing, but it didn't seem like it was doing anything. So like I can press that. This seems to do things. We see those notes. So we're seeing the console, which is kind of nice. We don't need to like try to open up some sort of like debugger or anything, or like attach it to a like Chrome debugger or something, but we might still want to try to do that. Whoa. That's kind of cool. So this would allow you to like test rotations. that's kind of cool. What else do we have in here? Oh, you can check like phone calls. Honestly, I feel like the emulator within Android feels more robust. And I think in some ways that's because like iOS and like Apple in general has sort of a buy our devices sort of mentality. And they have less platforms to target or less devices to target. So just having an iPhone, one of the latest like 2 or 3 or 4 versions is probably going to get you pretty far. And that's not the same for Android. There's lots of different options and configurations and devices you can deploy for. I suspect that's probably a big driving part of the reasons. Yeah. Okay, so Rudrash, rather. I always say Rud. Rudrash, you have notifications working, but you want to be able to send notifications when the app is closed. Yeah, I think, and we might want to qualify a little bit why you're trying to do that, or like what's the goal that you're trying to accomplish. Like Zenko said, there's a thing called persistent notifications. I believe it's is the term they use. Oh, I see where Dangel is going, and so this comes back around a little bit to what are you trying to accomplish. So there's notifications that the app can send. There's persistent notifications, like Zenko was bringing up. The like Linux in general is pretty good about like backgrounding processes, so it won't just like keep running stuff in the background. Um, so the way folks, get around it or enable things that aren't or sort of like outside the app are through either persistent notifications or widgets, like Senka was saying. The and both those sort of like allow you to keep processes running depending on the context. I know if you've what is that app called? There is an app that's been around for a long time. And if you are a tinkerer or you like automation on Android devices, Tasker is one that I've used, which it's sort of evolved over the years because the security profile and way Android handles security has changed. So it's needed to evolve with it. But one way it's able to run the automations, which is basically like when this app does a thing, do another thing over here in a different app. The way it's able to do that is through persistent notification, and that basically like keeps their process running in the background. If you're looking for something that's sort of like outside of the scope of if you're looking for something that's sort of outside of the scope of the app and you just want to be able to push notification, that's Danielle's answer. There's a few, like if you use Firebase, I think Firebase has a notification service. But basically you're doing a server pushing it to the device rather than using your app to be the trigger. So you want to notify if the temp goes above a certain limit sent to so weather, like if the weather temperature goes above freezing or goes below freezing, you want to send a notification. That does sound very much like a push notification. So I would look into Supabase is pretty good. I've used it on projects. I haven't actually used the push notifications, but everything I've seen from them has been pretty well done. But the push notification is going to allow you to send a notification outside of the context of if your app is running or not. That kind of yep, Firebase, thanks. If your app is the thing that's trying to get the temperature, then it starts to get a little sticky. Because again, you can only have like your app needs to be able to do the thing first of all. So like to get a temp, I don't think most devices have temperature sensors, at least not the weather type temperature sensors. But presuming you were doing something that existed on the device, you need to have some process running. And again, like Senko said, there's no background processes effectively. So you need to figure out a way to like keep it running in the background, which is widget or persistent notification. And then that would allow you to hook into potentially some Android device features to where you can update. Yeah, the where you get the data is probably the important part. If you're getting it outside of your app, like hitting an API or something like that, then push notification is probably going to be the way to go because you're likely running a server already, of which Supabase could theoretically be your server. A lot of these, like, we're a database hosting service is becoming we're an API that also allows you to use a database. And I feel like Supabase is sort of fitting that situation where it does auth, it does, this push notifications, it does a database, it's basically a backend API where you don't need to actually maintain your own backend at some point. It's just a blank app that needs to receive a notification primarily. Yeah, it sounds like push notification is probably going to be your first step there, because it's not going to be something that is your app isn't driving the data. It's externally derived, so you might as well just use a push notification. Good job. Good to see you. Thanks for stopping by as always. All right. So we've got 3 things hooked up, and we have notifications. Those seem to work. I'm not. I wish. Can we turn you off? No, I don't want to. I don't want to write. And I really don't. I need to disable that click because I keep doing that accidentally. Okay, that seems to work now without like extra pop-ups. Hello, chat. I don't know if y'all can hear it, but here, I'm gonna be quiet so I can see if the notification comes through. Yes, you can hear that the bing bing. Okay, I wasn't sure if it was just on my end or if y'all could hear it too. Hey Brendan, good to see you. You can hear it. Okay. I'll try not to spam it too much because random notification sounds are sort of annoying when you're watching. Okay, the haptic feedback, it seems to do things and it seems to log out in the console. I don't see any errors happening. So then I don't know if there's any other way we can confirm it. I don't think it like it's got the virtual sensors. Oh, here. That might just be that you can edit it or affect them. So this changing these would be like oh hey, look, ambient temperature. Oh, it opened up a thing on a different screen. I don't want that. Okay. So you might be able to get some, like, coming back again to your question, Rodash. There is potentially ambient temperature baked into Android and potentially the device, depending on what you're on. So like, it's from a machine in a warehouse. So that's the machine is the thing with the temperature sensor getting data and sending it somewhere. So that data then ends up needing to probably go to a server. So then your server can distribute it to wherever it needs to go. In theory, you could run an app in like and put it on a machine in like a kiosk mode type situation, which would always be running and be expected to be running, in which case it would be able to potentially get temperatures. And then in the same way, send those temperatures to an external service. So, I mean, again, it comes back to like what you're trying to do. But that being said, it looks like we have some ability to do that in the emulator. I thought there was like a debug mode, but I don't recall where it was. I think most of our like debug type stuff is showing up in the terminal. So like if we hit this, it says hapticking and hapticking done, which is what we had done previously to make certain that it was actually going through and triggering the haptic bits that we were expecting it to. Yeah, okay, here, so send notification. Hello from debug, nice. We probably aren't going to see that directly in here. Scan, here. Hapticking done. So like it is not failing on those. So I'm assuming it is working as expected. I thought maybe it's only if you do the shaking, but I thought there was a visual feedback if it was doing haptic. Um, Either it's turned off or that was only when you do the haptic feedback. Because I'm not seeing it now. Microphone, fingerprint, virtual sensors, snapshots. So we did, when we made the emulated device, we did turn on quick boot, which is why it spun up so quickly. Disable pinch to zoom, disable mouse wheel. Yeah, I don't see anything. Oh, this is nice. Okay. So maybe they either changed it or I'm thinking of something else. But I thought you used to be able to. It must be this. Like if we go move, is this basically like shaking it? I don't know. There used to be a thing where either you send a haptic, so like a shake message, and I thought there was a if the device shakes or does like the haptic feedback that it had some sort of visual like depiction of that in the emulator, but I definitely do not see now. And I don't see anything to like turn that on. Send keyboard shortcuts to emulator controls. I guess let's just double check the keyboard shortcuts. Zoom, move, multiple displays, record and playback, virtual sensors, Control Shift V. I'm just curious what that does. Okay, so it just switches to it. Whoa, I have no idea what that's doing, but maybe that's just to give you some visual. Like where's this thing relative to the center? Excuse me. Okay, I don't see anything with the haptic. I don't know that there's too much we can do with it more other than it doesn't crash. Let's try the scan though. I have tried the scan and it is kind of drippy. And now it's not working. Oh. That's take screenshot. So why isn't it working now? File, uncut promise. And what is my scan doing? It is just doing scan. It's literally just calling scan. Dot catch error console dot error error. I don't know if you need to like reload it. Let's actually test that real quick. I don't know how the hot module reloading works in here. Trying out the hot reload on Android. So that seems to work. I'm presuming all of this will as well. So if we've done, okay, we did do a catch and it doesn't seem to be actually, is it only output logs there? Okay, it doesn't seem to be working at all. Interesting. Did I break it? Oh, the other bit we can try too. If we go into app info, let's turn off the permissions. Okay, so right now, no permissions denied. This is supposed to ask every time. So we have potentially some, I don't know if race condition is the right word, but we are doing a request permission for this. Depending on the permission you ask, or the permission you give rather, this might be like giving us an issue here. So if we go into, I guess let's just do this because it's not actually asking us. And now if you do scan, there we go. This is what I was expecting to see. Entering camera mode. Now, so like it clearly went into the camera mode. I don't know. Like I can move around it and I can look around, which is kind of trippy. Like if we remember iOS a couple of weeks ago, this didn't work at all. It just failed. It's kind of cool that they have like a virtual environment. But also like if the intent of this is to test barcode scanning, well, we don't have a barcode to scan in here. So I have no idea how to like get out of it. It's just, this is our app now. Oh, I don't have gestures enabled. Back. Yeah. So like, there we go. We can play around with that a little bit. Juan, good to see you. Thanks for stopping by. How do you sign an APK with Tauri? All of the docs in distribute is probably where we're going to find any information that's published. Assign Android. It's not simple. We do have some instructions for the various operating systems that you're doing the signing from. You got some bits and you can do some of it in GitHub Actions. I would recommend generally setting up all this stuff in some sort of runner, so you don't have to do it on your local machine every time you want to publish something. But you're basically like defining a key that it signs with when you build it. Of which here's the Yep. So this is doing key store stuff. If you've done any like JWT, you'll recognize keystore.jks, or actually, that might be more of a Java thing. Keystore.jks. And you're like generating it. So RSA algorithm, key size 2048. And it puts it in your home directory. If we look at like the pipelines for GitHub Actions, I don't know that we specifically have anything in here around signing. Oh, interesting. I haven't actually tried the ARM runner yet. Or well, maybe I have, but not enough to like actually dig into it. Oh, this uses an image. That makes sense. Yeah, it doesn't actually specifically say anything in here. Dungel's in the chat. Juan. Dungel is a founder of Crab Nebula, of which they have Crab Nebula Cloud. And if you want something to do the building for you, but also
allow users to download that same image. They take a lot of the effort out. So if you don't want to try to figure this out, and like this starts to fall into, we've documented it somewhat, but then it starts to cross the line into this is how you deploy an Android app to the store, and like you would look at their documentation for that. It gets involved, and if you want some of that effort to be taken off your plate, then that's where you would look at grabbing Real Cloud. So it's both a my effort now in setting it up, but then also a continuing to maintain and like do the keys and the signing and the users being able to download it and update. That's a service that'll handle a bunch of that for you. And you need a Play Store account. Do we actually say that anywhere? Yeah, so we do specifically say see official Play app signing docs. I guess technically we don't say here that we need a Play Store account, but I imagine that their docs do. So we have a little bit here, but you're starting to cross over that line into Android documentation, in which case, if this is not sufficient for getting it done, then you start looking at the Android docs. Let's say you want to deploy a PC software and mobile app. Do you create a new Tauri project? No, it's all embedded into the same. Or I mean, you could have two separate apps if you want. But we do there's the gen folder, which generates the project files for Android and for iOS, and that allows you to use the same project. Within, if you look at even just like the base generated thing from Create Tauri app, we have some bits in here where if Windows subsystem is Windows, do a certain thing. And here we have a config macro for mobile. One of the big changes for mobile was that we needed to switch off of using main.rs as the entry point and having lib.rs as like sort of the main entry point, because that's what the mobile crates needed. So you can theoretically use the same code base. You can use the same code base on the front end, depending on what you're doing. It may or may not be convenient to do that. But you can use these config macros to help you compile bits that are specifically targeting a desktop platform or a mobile platform. So you can see here we actually have, in this case, we are only doing haptics and barcode scanner on mobile. If we would happen to compile this or build this for desktop, then these bits are, if you're familiar with JavaScript, this is the tree shaking. It won't compile it and include it in there unless it's mobile. So like my IDE right now is highlighting, presuming that my config is not mobile, which is why that's sort of not grayed out, but like the color is slightly it's less, the luminosity is turned down a little bit. But you can make commands special to each one or not. Yes, via like this config macro. So you'd either put it at like the top of the command. I would probably say you put it within the command, and you can basically have two different code blocks. One for mobile, one for desktop. And at some point too, like this is externals. You can make these external. like any of these commands can be in different files, and then you can just use one file versus a different file based off of um, the config macro. So that will give you flexibility on like this. This would be annoying if you have to put it on every line. Don't think you need to do that. You can split stuff up and like import a whole plugin and use a mobile version versus a desktop version. Like that, you can go from like lines of code to external files to like completely separate plugins, depending on what's going to be easiest to handle. um, mm, Commands written in Rust will still compile for mobile. Yes. I feel like there's deeper questions in this question, Job. So maybe a little bit more context would be helpful. I think what you're getting at is your Rust code running on Android or running on iOS. Yes, would be the answer. When you go through the prerequisites, you're doing Rust up target. All of these bits are the like Rust platform code to be able to run on that target. So your code gets compiled to run on Android or it gets compiled to run on iOS. Your crates that you're using from the Rust ecosystem also do need to, presuming you need them on mobile, need to be able to also compile for that target. So if you've gotten into Rust at all, there's some like if you start looking at like Rust embedded, if you're working with embedded devices, the amount of storage and compute on those platforms is very small. So you can start doing things like compile for a target and not include like the whole standard library. And like you can get very specific on the pieces that you're actually including. The option to write Kotlin is there, but it is not necessarily required. You can use Rust for everything. Like if your Rust compiles to something that can run on that platform. Hey Denjel, good to see you. If your Rust can compile and run, like if in this case we're literally just doing a format and returning, that should be fine to run on any platform. Depending on the crate you're pulling in, you might need to be a little bit more specific. The places where you would write Kotlin or the places where you would write Swift are likely going to be when you're interacting with platform specific APIs. And that's why our examples are testing notifications. They're testing the barcode scanner, which uses the camera, haptic feedback. Those are all very platform specific, and you're using and interacting with those platform specific APIs. That's when you would need to write Kotlin or Swift. Otherwise, in theory, you would be able to write everything else in Rust, presuming your Rust is supported on that target. All right. Hopefully that gives more context. Tall breadstick, thanks for stopping by. Did I already highlight? I don't remember if I did, but so it compiles and signs properly, but crashes when actually opening. Interesting. Where do you go from there? So I think the bit embedded into your question is where do you go from there? Cool job. Happy to help. And I think this is sort of like generic advice right now. When you're doing a release build for any of these platforms, and in general, anytime you're building for the platforms, it's running a Rust like dash release. That doesn't include any of the debug information. So you'll lose a little bit of context or ability to debug once you've like deployed to it. I think maybe the thing that, and we might want to see if we can try it today. I wonder if trying to run it or trying to do a build and do a debug build rather than a release build might give us more information. Because so something that could be happening, when you do a build, you're building both your front end and the Rust code, and you're putting in a binary and you're running that. So something somewhere in there is crashing. If you're getting a white page, that probably means that your front end is crashing and there's some error there. So we want to get some visibility into that specific error. Having a debug build might be helpful there because we can use like the dev, the front end dev tools to still debug that. Like we can connect to it still. Or the, I mean, on mobile is different. Like if I right click, it does this. But on a desktop app, you can view the dev tools. Like they're still included in a debug build. If the whole app is crashing, then that's a different issue. And that I don't have an immediate answer for. But might want to see if we can play around with it a little bit and get more information out of it. So one of the things that we found with iOS was that we could attach to a process and like view any errors that came up. Here we're getting them. It seems that we're getting any errors like this dumped into the terminal. This may be like some of this says specifically Tauri console. I think that's coming from the actual like if you do a console.log, that's the error that we're getting. Um, but what happens if like we get an app crash? What does that look like? Can we debug that? So for like first of all, it was nice before. I mean, nice, but like it was crashing already for us. We figured out a way to like get it to crash every time, so we could kind of test it out and do the attach to debugger. I'm on Windows, so different dev operating system, but also we're using Android. So we might have to play around with a little bit to see if we can hook it up to like the Android Studio debugger. But strangely, you're getting a similar error when running a default Creatory app also on your. Are you okay? So you're not using an emulator. You are building the app and then sideloading it onto your phone, and it's crashing. Are you getting a white page or is it actually crashing? One, you say your problem is the build.gradle.kts. You wouldn't know how to configure this correctly. Sign. As far as I know, like everything that I would know would be in this. You're building for it using Android, deploying to the Google Play Store, and your code for signing the Android app is here. So I think the Gradle config would be this. I honestly have not built and tried to sign an Android app before. The best I've done is like play around with it and play around with the emulator. So I wouldn't know more for actually getting it on the Play Store. It closes right after opening, so that would tell me that it's probably something else that's crashing. Is there I don't remember if we get like accessible logs within I mean, it might emulator stuff might be coming into play here too, but I don't know if we actually get like a place where we can see logs in Android. Um, I vaguely recall seeing something, but I might not be remembering. I mean, if it closes right after opening, I guess that could be. I would definitely, I would check this out. Um, and the reason this could make sense is, well, okay. So the two pieces to this. If it opens up and we have a white background, that means the front end is crashing. So it's like a configuration or something with your front end issue. That is still technically like configuration issue, but it would actually like hard crash, I think, if it can't find it, because it's trying to, um, like it would be in the Rust code that it's trying to run like an index.html and it's not finding it. So that I could see potentially being a hard crash. But the reason I suspect that's not the issue is because Tall Breadstick, you mentioned that it's you're getting the same error when you do a default create Tauri app, which default create Tauri app should have that configured correctly. So if it's failing for that, then I would say it's probably not an issue with the correct front end directory inside the Tauri.configuration.json. Still doesn't help. I still don't have a solution, which is the downside, but um, yeah, I thought there was a stream of logs. Maybe I'm just not remembering correctly and I'm thinking of something else. Um, I thought we could see like a stream of logs or something per app. Yeah, battery, screen, permissions, notifications, mobile data usage. Um, yeah, I'm not seeing anything. The only lead you really have is the logcat error. Could you say more? It definitely seems like, so if it is reproducible on a Creatory app, then I wouldn't say it's specifically something with your specific app setup. Are you okay? Maybe this is a good question. Um, when you get it on your device, are you using? Is this like the dev build, or are you actually like compiling it and sideloading it? Because I think those would potentially be two different contexts. If you're sideloading it, if you're compiling it and sideloading it, then it might be in your phone slash like it's possible there's more like environment issue stuff going on. If you're running it through sort of the dev cycles, then it could be a setup with that. That I guess that being said, the you don't know those words. Okay. So side loading, let's do some Googling too, because I'm not 100% certain. How to debug some of this stuff. On Android, you can do a thing called side loading. There is there's the Google Play Store. With an iOS, you can really only get apps off of their App Store. On Android, you can get it off the Google Play Store. It also supports other different like app stores. You can also do a thing called side loading, which is if you have that APK, you can literally just like install directly from the APK and you don't have to actually go through a store. Um, this they're starting to, they say quote crackdown. Um, I don't know that that's all security. They say it is, but I mean, to be clear, there is definitely security concerns. If you're sideloading an app, that means you're downloading an app from somewhere and opening it up and running it on your phone. Super common on desktop environments, much less so on mobile platforms. So one of the things in theory that the app stores do is that they confirm that there's nothing malicious within the app. iOS is a lot better about and more stringent about that type of stuff. Android is less so. The Play Store does these checks and they've been doing them more and more, but they haven't been quite as stringent. So one of the things that they're doing is potentially locking down side loading because of this issue. If your if your app is being installed or you're asking the user to install your app via side loading, you're basically avoiding the whole malicious the chance for an external authority to check to make sure you're not doing anything malicious. Yeah. Okay, so you're building an APK, then installing it directly. Sometimes just using adb install filename.apk. I'm pretty certain that's sideloading. Hey Pelican, good to see you. So adb install. So adb is the Android debug bridge. For those that are unaware, this is something that you can basically send commands to something that's running it. I can use adb and communicate with my TV. My TV is running an Android version. At least my old one was. My new one, I don't know that I've tried it actually, but I've used adb with my old TV. So it's just any Android device can be put in debug mode, and you can use this to communicate with it. So that is the same for your device, your a phone or something. You can use the adb install and remotely install, which I think it's not sideloading in the fact that somebody's opening up an APK and installing it. It's sort of like an install through a side channel, sideloading it. And a blind dev mode. Oh, yes. Is that where those logs are? When I was mentioning before. So this has been a thing for quite a while. It was on the build number, right? Yeah, build number here. So if you click a bunch of times, it's going to say that. And now, so that's the way to turn on developer mode. I do that on every phone. That's one of the first things that I get, or that I do when I get a new phone. I turn on developer mode. Developer options. Here, this might be what I was thinking of. Thank you, Zenko. Now, is there? So we can see running services. Do we see anything with? Okay, so that's still open. All right, mobile. Oh, yeah. When it loses focus, it goes away. Split screen. Can I split screen it? Yeah. There we go. Mobile. Nothing there. I don't think that's it. All right, go out of split screen. No, I don't want to. Go away. They're just stuck together now. Okay. All right. I feel like that either I'm like missing the right gestures and stuff, but the app pairing was a thing that came into existence and then just wasn't super well developed. All right, so there's USB debugging. If you're like plugging your phone into your computer and doing the ADB install, you might be able to use this like turn on USB debugging and see some of the debugging context. What does a debug build do anyways? How can I read the debug logs when this is running? So to clarify, there's potentially a few debug build pieces there. When you do a Rust build, to build for something that you're sending to consumers, you do like a dash release. What that does is when you build a binary, there are it's like basically a whole mash of characters. Symbols, I think, is the like technical term. Some of those symbols, if you build it in debug mode, there's symbols within there that are specifically for debugging. If you're sending out something out to the consumer, you don't expect them to do any debugging, so you strip those out. So the dash release from a Rust build strips out any of those debug symbols. That means that from that binary, you don't have any of the like access to debugging tools. Like if you throw an error, you're not going to get like a nice stack tracer or anything like that. It's going to be like a hard error that just says like this thing crashed, which is why when you're using an app that you've downloaded from somewhere and it crashes, those error reports might not be helpful at all because they need that. The person building the app would have to like make that error nice because you like you don't have those debug stack traces or anything like that anymore. Now, that being said, that's a Rust debug build. There's also like we're working through Kotlin and within the context of Android, that also has debug stuff too. Now, if we do a debug build, or if we do a build, like if we do npm run Tauri build, that's going to by default do a release build. Let's actually check on that first. If we do that, is there a way, do we have built in a way for us to do a debug version? Here, let's go ahead and just stop this. Our emulator is still going to be running, but we can do, let's say build dash help. Nope. Okay, we've got okay, builds with a debug flag. So you do npm run Tauri Android build dash debug or dash d, and that would give you a build. And I'm pretty sure it sets the flags for all of them. So Zenko is saying there are ways to debug pre-build APKs with Android Studio. Yeah, if you know how to do that offhand, that's something that we can take a look at right now. This, though, would be the way to build it without having those debug symbols stripped. So I would do a debug build using this flag and see if it gives you any more errors. With a debug build, you might get better error or better stack traces. So that would be like make sure that you have the developer mode turned on and then do a debug build and see what happens. Because if you don't do debug mode, so if you build just without this flag on, all of those debug symbols are stripped out, and I think that covers both Rust and Android stuff. That's why you're going to be getting very little information on why it's crashing. So try a debug build, give that a shot, and hopefully we get more information. While you're working on that, though, if you have like a link or something, you might not be able to send it in chat, Zenko. Feel free to, I got Discord open, right? Somewhere. Yeah, we've got if you're in the Tauri Discord, feel free to drop it in there's a showcase channel. Can I, whoop, whoop, whoop. Yeah. Doing weird stuff, but like, drop it in there. I'd also turn on the tall breadstick. I would, I love your name, by the way. I would turn on the developer options because this turned on plus debug build is, I'm pretty certain is going to give you more information than you have right now, which would be helpful. Okay, so we've got a lot of stuff going on here. I thought there was like a system UI. So USB debugging, that would be like if you are plugging in your phone to the that would be if you're plugging in your phone to the computer that's like running Android Studio. So you'd want to turn that on. Turn it on like the phone that you're plugging in, just to be clear. I don't see system tracing. Record system activity and analyze it later to improve performance. I mean, that would maybe be cool to look at, but I don't think that's going to help us with. I thought there was some debug logs in here. It might be a. Is there like an ADB connect? I see you dropped a link in there. Let me finish going through here and we'll open that up. I feel like there's an. Whoops. Oh. Oh. Developer options. Where are you? No, I lost my developer options. Okay. Click. No need. You're already a developer. Are you sure? I don't. Oh, is that under system? Developer options. Yep. Okay. Scroll. All right. Don't destroy every activity as soon as the user leaves it. Yeah. So there, like just in general, there's a few things to here. Disable ADB authorization timeout. Select a debug app. What does that do? I have no idea if that's going to do anything. Logging level? Debug? I'm not sure if any of those settings are going to change anything. Let's try starting it up again and see if we get any different. Actually, here, let's just try running it here. Yeah, okay. So this is still using the dev. So this would be like, this might be something that you see when you do a build and you have some issue on the front end. Like it'll open, but it'll just be like a white screen. In our case, this is happening because we don't actually have the front end dev server through Vite running, in which that app is dependent on. Because we don't build the front end for like dev mode. We're fetching it directly from the dev server. Okay, so we check some boxes. I have no idea if it's going to give us any more information. I mean, we're getting some stuff. I don't know if it's more or if it's different. If we look at settings, There's not anything else in here now, is there? No, I don't see anything. Developer options. Oh, autofill. Oh, maybe that's just an autofill. I thought that was. I didn't even notice that. Okay. I don't know that that's gonna. The things we turned on. I don't think that's gonna change anything. Let's open up this link here that we got. Copy link. All right. And debug pre-built APKs. So APKs that have debugging enabled without having to build them from Android Studio Project. Attach Kotlin or Java sources. Attach native debug symbols. Okay, so like this is kind of where we're native debug symbols. This would be like that's probably going to be the bits from Rust. Would be my guess. Let's see if we can get. Let's see if we can attach. From the Android Studio welcome screen. All right, let's go here. Let's stop this. I don't know if it's well. No, we'll leave it open, I guess. So I think this is the Android Studio welcome screen, but I don't see a profile or debug APK. Profile or debug APK. In the dialog that opens, select the APK you want to import. Okay. Now that would be, I'm guessing it would be in I should have a documents dev boom and Rust Playground and mobile and Tauri. Oh my goodness. I don't know if it's going to be under build. Oh my gosh, this folder tree is getting deep. So it's looking for an APK. We might actually have to do a build. Can we not do a, is there debug, can we do a debug on a running thing, like an emulated one? Profile or debug APK? Can we do that through the emulator, do you know, Zenko? Well, we're digging into that. Let's do the debug build. So if we do dash debug, that's going to give us debug build. And then I believe we can do this debug pre-built APKs setup. We'll have to fix that error, but then I think we'll be able to do that setup. Format is declared, but it's valid. Okay, this is TypeScript errors. Oh. Actually, we were trying to use this plugin before, and we were playing around with it to try to get it to work. This, when it was calling scan, I think it was actually just opening up the, yeah, I think it was actually just opening up the, it should be a React. What the heck? I think it was just opening up the normal camera app. So I wonder if that is really needed. Let's just try that real quick, and then we'll do a debug build while I deal with this other. It doesn't like React in this. I mean, sure. Oh, and that's just a relative attribute should include no opener, sure. Well, actually, I don't really want any of those in there. Let's just get rid of all of that. And let us delete the assets, because I keep clicking those and I am sick of accidentally clicking those. So we're going to kill two birds with one stone. All right. Looks a little bit more plain, but whatever. Now, if we hit scan. Okay, I think it's actually like scanning now. It didn't leave the like context of the app, but I don't know how to make it stop. I can tell that because it's got this symbol up here. So like it's recording, it's doing something. But we might need to like play around with it a little bit more because we're not. Whoop, kind of go away. It's hard to gesture with clicking. I don't know how to make it stop though. Go away. Okay. Well, I guess that's one way to do it. That definitely did make a difference. Still seems a little bit funky. Still feels funky doing that on I wonder if there's some weird CSS or something going on here. Make sure your user interface is ready to show what is underneath with the transparent. Yeah, okay. So like we don't have that set up. So it is potentially doing the thing that we're hoping for. I don't know. We might have to play around with that a little bit more, but it seems to be working. So we can shoot to try to test that out. But first, let's do a debug build and let's see if we get if we can wire that up how Zenka was mentioning, and hopefully that also is useful to y'all. But yes, okay. Hopefully that is useful to y'all, but also solves stalled breadsticks issue. So this is going to give us a build. It might take a hot minute. Top level await is not available in the configured target environment. Yes, I'm aware. I mean, honestly, like, let's just do without it. I don't really want to. Oh my goodness. I don't just compile the thing. Request permission. Oh. Oh, I see. We actually had a. Oh, there's two request permissions. Okay. Yeah, okay. That's fine. We can always go into these settings, the app settings, and just enable it to test. So like this is just CSS, or this is just like TypeScript is trying to help us, but also like I don't want to fix it right now, so just be fine with it. It's not going to be helpful for us to. There's no use in me fixing it because it's not going to provide any additional context. So we're just going to comment it out for the moment, because all that's doing is being the thing that prompts and asks for permission. It seems to be fine and it seems to be supported, but whatever TypeScript thing that we have set up says otherwise. And it's trying to help us, but it's kind of getting in our way at the moment. So when we start the app up, it is actually going to be it potentially is not going to work because we need to adjust the permissions. But we can do that manually, and then hopefully it just works. Hey, what'd you do? What's different? Share, please. It's like that. I don't know if y'all have heard of XKCD. I certainly hope so, because they do some great work, and they've been around for a long time. But XKCD, I swear, is a comic for everything at this point. They've been making them for so long, but they're like 1 to 3 panel comics that are just on current sort of techie nerdy trends. They've got one. Somebody's like sitting down at a computer looking, and they see a forum post of asking a question, and then the follow-up to that question is, never mind, I figured it out. And the third panel is them going, like, yelling at their computer, what did you see, user 12378? That's what I feel like right now. What did you see? What did you fix? We are to bring you back into the fold here, tall breadstick, as you're sharing, because you're going to share what you fixed, right? I'm super curious now. We're doing a debug build. So we ran npm Tauri, or npm run Tauri build dash debug. That will give us a debug build, and we're going to try this debug pre-built APKs setup. And I'm hoping that will give us a built APK that we can run through the debug to see what it looks like. Hey, Gonzalo. You'll be watching the beginning later. Sweet. Thanks for stopping by. I think you're new to the chat. I feel like folks' names too, like people change their names too. So, Zenko shared a link, I believe, under a different username in the Discord. I remember the Discord name, but I didn't recognize your name in chat here. So, apologize if y'all have come here before. It's hard to keep track of everything. Okay, it is slowly doing its thing. It's at 83%, it looks like. Still building. But what we're going to do is, like, once it's done building, this should give us a built APK with the bug symbols turned on. So we should be able to, I believe, run it in the emulator using their profile and debug feature, which would then let us like observe or profile or see any crashes. That would be my hope. And honestly, one way to hopefully deal with your issue, tall breadstick, would potentially be to do this. Okay, so it should be built. Let's just double check that we can find it in here without having to use their GUI. We get Android and build outputs APK x86. Here we go. I don't know if we'll need to use the universal or not. Oh, okay. So universal is release build. I think I'm not sure how these are related, but this app x8664 debug.abk, it will usually put these in different folders, a debug folder and a release folder, and that's how you can tell. You can now add 5 years of Tauri Android development on. After fixing some bugs, I feel like that. It has taken me 2 weeks, but I've aged 5 years. So what was the issue? What was the issue, tall breadstick? Please share. I feel like it's always one of those things that you spend a whole ton of time on, and then it's like something that should, in retrospect, be obvious, and then you just never make the mistake again. 2 messages up. It might have gotten moderated out. I don't see like if a message gets moderated. Google/YouTube sort of just does that in the background. I don't. Oh, yeah. So the error was a logcat error, right? What did you do to fix the error? Like what did you end up changing that or how was it just a lucky guess? Was it a lucky guess that ended up fixing it? Or did you actually use some debug feature to do it? Okay. This is built. Let's do a profile and debug APK. We can go find it in the huge folder tree, which is deeper. Where are we? Outputs. Then I have words. Oh my gosh. That's you had to change stuff inside your build and Gradle KTS thing. Interesting. Okay, so it shows up. Are these like attached? So I see things in here. Resource manager, tools, profile. Like we're getting things. If I just start typing, do we see, are these hooked together? I can't tell if these are hooked together. It doesn't seem like it's actually changing anything. Lib image processing util .j or underscore jni.so is missing debug symbols. Okay. I can't tell if it's actually running devices. I mean, it says running devices. ID, okay. Zenko, have you tried this before? I'm curious if it's a me issue or this is, are we treading down new territory? I don't see anything that's actually like, how do you use this? Percent of total download size. So like we're looking at the, do I have to like run it? Apply code changes, attach debugger to Android process. Oh, okay. Use Android debugger settings from this. Okay, sure. Oh. Now, if I do this, there we go. Connected to target. I need to stop doing that because it keeps butting. It seems like it's connected. I'm not actually seeing any like context though. Memory view. Gonzalo, you could have seen me on Discord on a Ganwi. You were preparing the compiler app for Android, so perfect. Yeah, maybe maybe that's what I'm thinking of. It sounded like vaguely familiar, so I couldn't tell if you had stopped by or not before. With Java Android apps debug the classes and errors in the release builds. Like we see the classes and stuff here. A lot of this is like generated stuff, so I don't know what is going to be worth looking at. I did do the attach debugger to Android process, and that seems to have attached it here. I'm not seeing anything that, I mean, it might be working, but we're not like getting any crashes. So, and it also said that we're missing debug symbols. So like it could very well just be, like that. If we go like this, no, stop, go away. Process finished. Okay. So it did detach. There's a run. Okay. If we get rid of the app, it still appears that it's attached. So if we say run, that's going to run this app, not the one that's like, okay. I'm still not getting any like context here that I would expect to see. Yeah, like it should work with Android, I feel like. It's just my lack of familiarity with the this Android Studio. um I mean, it seems like it's connected. Debug. What happens if we hit debug? Oh, waiting for debugger. Okay, so the debugger is attached. It is running. Okay. Launching. Starting intent. Connected to target. But like we're not getting any. Speaking of logcat, beginning of system cannot detect package names. I don't like it. I'm curious what you ran into, tall breadstick, and I'm curious if you would have actually seen that error in here. Terminal. Oh. Oh. No, that's just a PowerShell. I don't care about that. Yeah, you're bad at Android Studio too. We could try breakpoint maybe. So part of the problem is if you were writing if you're writing your code in Android Studio, like Android Studio has an IDE, and you enable breakpoints, you can like start the emulators and stuff from Android Studio, right? It's all built into the same thing. So if I do a breakpoint in VS Code, that's not going to work. We would have to do it in Android Studio. But also, I didn't write any of this code. It's like being generated. So we could also just like guess and just maybe put some breakpoints on stuff. But also, this is a built thing. So I don't even know if, like, I have no idea where to look. So, like, here's assets. That seems familiar. We'll get some property files, meta. Here's the Android manifest. Oh, okay. Okay, here's haptics. So if we look at one of these, um, void vibrate. Here's an invoke. Okay, I'd like, what can I do? Show methods, show fields. Like this is just, I don't know that you can actually put breakpoints in any of this stuff with the like this debug built version. I'm yeah. Oh boy. Okay, so we did get some like error there. It doesn't seem like it. Ooh, something's weird. Someone's weird with this. Let's try. Oh, do we have two things running? So this runs this, but it's not opening up. So like it's a debug build. It could be that we just have like picked the wrong one and this is not the actual one being built. Of which I'm not certain where that would be. You're welcome. Have a good one, tall breadstick. Um, I'm not. Yeah, I'm not certain where else it would be, but this doesn't feel like the right or what we're expecting to be the like debug build. Is there? And we don't get anything else built, right? Um. Mm. 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 But no. Android release. Where does the debug build go? You another try. You use your app and see when it crashes. Yeah, like I think for debugging performance issues or crashes, you'd want to use this. And it'll be like performance issues specifically as it's operating on the platform. But like in the case of what Tall Breadstick was running into, where it was crashing as soon as it would load, being able to see more information about that would be nice. And I think that's when you'd use this. So part of the problem is we are running it. It seems to be running maybe, but like it's not showing up here. It's also not crashing, so we're not seeing any like context. Oh. We do need to do permissions. Permissions. Okay, so permissions are turned on. So I think it's this like I'm wondering too if this emulator is getting like this built one is getting confused with the other one that's supposed to be running. But I'm also not sure if this is the debug build APK we're supposed to be using. If you do a dash dash debug, is that one? Because it seems like we're potentially loading in one that is not a debug build, but like the thing that is loaded in when you're doing dev. But like I'm not seeing anything else. APK bundle mapping. So it's a little bit hard to say. Purely guessing here, but I feel like that is I think what's happening is we're debugging the thing that is built in dev mode, which is why it's not loading. But what I do want to potentially try is, can we close project? Close project will put us back here. It's still a listing that says a project. I'm going to remove from recent projects because I don't really care about that. I don't know if any of these plugins either will help. Like, it seems like a whole bunch of stuff is turned on. We're going to do profile. Okay, it's still very much like it asks you for an APK. Ooh, here, we should have just like read the thing. I guess that says release. It says release there. So if we go, so I think we're actually right. This debug build is actually the one that's being built for when we're running it in like dev mode. So I should have, I think, do this one. I saw release. I assumed it was like a release build. Okay. So it is loading. I don't ignore. It's fine. Now if we go and do debug, cannot debug. Okay. What if we do run? Error running. Could not, the application cannot be installed. Do we need to sign it? That would be ridiculous if we just want to run it on an emulated device, right? Is that not kind of, I really do not want to have to sign this to be able to run it on the emulated device. Well, okay. Okay. Let us try this again. We're going to close project. We're going to remove this. So we have a clean slate. It is doing a dev. It will start it up in a minute here. We will then do the profiler debug APK, and I'm going to point at this one instead. Okay, now that's running. We should be able to do this and overwrite, I guess. I don't know how this is going to work when it's like running in memory. All right. And now attach debugger to this one. Okay. Add. So there's this message that says add debug symbols. The library is missing debug symbols. I'm not certain where that would be or what that would need, but let's just see what we get now. So we click this, we get a bunch of logs here. Are we seeing anything else in any of these? Could not detect project names. It really seems like all of our information is going to be here. And maybe we do need to sign it to be able to get any additional context with this pre-built APK. Does it have any information here? So we can look at information about it. So we can attach Kotlin or Java sources. So to debug the Kotlin or Java code using breakpoints, you need to point the ID to a Kotlin or Java source file that corresponds. We don't actually get this. Double click on a SMALI file. Samli. Okay, we have the NDK tools and tools. See, I'm not sure which. So part of this, like when we're talking about what additional docs we could write, the at some point we're going to have docs that then cross into refer to Android docs. But there's also this like little bit of a gray area where yes, we could refer them to docs, but also it's sort of dependent on how Tauri is setting up and like initializing it and using this native code. So like functionally, yes, this is Android stuff, but also if I want to point to a directory to get debug symbols wired up, that's kind of a Tauri thing. So like, where is that going to be? You know? Hey Nicola, good to see you. Also, Darth, good to see you as well. So we could potentially try to point at. I mean, like it, and at some level, I'm guessing what folder where you want to point and direct this stuff at. Um, and in some ways, too, this may not actually be useful for most folks. But if you're doing, like deep integration, maybe you do have Android experience and this isn't as big of a deal. But as folks have said today in chat, Tauri might be your first introduction to Android development. So having some sort of like pointers on like for this debug mode or this debug symbols or whatever, they're generated here. Point to this. That I think that would be immensely helpful. And that feels like one of the big pieces that we're missing right now in our docs. So we're gonna try guessing. We're looking for debug symbols. Debug symbols are gonna be native SO files. Those were in oh, we have logs. That's kind of interesting. SDK. Native will be I remember seeing some like .so files, but where? Intermediates? Yeah, like I don't see anything here. Let's go back and look at this. Can we just search in this folder? If we look in Android, find in folder and search for star.so. So it's referring to some stuff. So src main jni libs. So in the app folder, gen Android app folder, source jni libs. This libmobile, that feels right. Okay. This looks like we have potentially set up the debug symbols with it. Now, we don't have the note saying there's an issue anymore. So that is potentially a good thing. And now if we click haptic feedback, do we see anything anywhere? Not so much. Darth, you just moved all of your pure Rust stuff over to use the Tauri store plugin. Nice. Yeah, I can let you cut a lot of the code of the program. Yeah, and I've suggested this a few times too on the stream where the just because it's just because you're writing code for yourself doesn't mean it all needs to be in like lib.rs or related files. You could actually abstract a piece out and write it as a plugin and have it like locally in your repo, and then import it and use it just like you would any other plugin. Like that separation can be really nice. If you have something that is very much an abstraction, it could make sense to pull out as a plugin, even if you're only ever going to use it locally, because it helps clear up a lot of the code. So yeah, that's cool that you had some luck with that. All right, I think we got the debug symbols wired up here. It seems one or more debug symbols point to paths not found. I mean, okay. So that seems to be fine. I'm still not getting any like where does any of this show up? Hello. I need to should I just turn that off? I mean, in some ways it's kind of nice. Y'all are hearing that ding just like I am, but I can't imagine it's terribly helpful. One or more debug symbols point to paths not found on this machine. It's hard to tell if it's working. It seems like it is. Do we have anything else in here? Attach Kotlin or Java sources. So if we double click on any file, it says we need to double click on, if we look in Kotlin, sure. I don't know if these are, yeah, like again, this comes back to it's generated code. It's not my code. I don't have any context. So in missing out on that context, it makes some of this hard to reason about. Okay, haptics. Okay, this is looking, that's got an S. So yes, here we go. Okay. Attach Kotlin / Java sources. So now if we go into here and we say this is going to be a navigate to the directory with the apps Kotlin or Java source. I think that's going to be one of these. So maybe this. Disassembled classes.txt. I don't know that actually worked. Yeah, having some information on how this is put together would be nice. Plugin, barcode scanner. Okay. So is it working? I don't know that it's actually working any more differently than it was before. If we go over here and look, let's look at our actual directory. Now, generating code means you don't have to deal with it, but also you kind of have to deal with it. We have ProGuard rules.pro, Tauri build.gradle.kts. That could be it. Assets, Java, generated, permission helper. Then we also have a build source. I don't know what the difference is between these. So when we set it up, we pointed to this. I don't think that's right. I'm going to point it to the Android app directory and see what happens. So if we do attach and we go Android app, this would give us, there's a ProGuard and stuff there. So if we do that, did that do anything? In the project window, it replaces SMALI files with the corresponding Kotlin or Java source files. You can now add breakpoints and debug your app. It doesn't seem to be working, because I would expect those things to be able to be like clickable. So if we click in here, this is still an SMALI file. So I don't think that's right. We could do that in outer directory. What does this just Android do? I'm pretty certain that, like, if we click into here, it should, if we've done it right, I don't think it should show us the .smali anymore. So I'm going to assume that whatever we're selecting is not correct. Select the directories in which Java sources are located. With the app's Kotlin or Java sources, and then click open. So, we've got what's this ProGuard? Load ProGuard mappings. Let's give that a shot. Dev, Tauri Playground, mobile, source Tauri, gen, Android. APK analyzer could not find any ProGuard mapping files. Oh, it needs to be mapping.txt, seeds.txt, or usage.txt. Okay. So we've got a Java generated, and that's an app. Outputs. What is this? Compile x86. All right. Then we have a Gradle wrapper. We could try it. We could try the Gradle wrapper. I'm not certain if that's going to work, but we can give it a shot. Android Gradle wrapper. I don't think it's doing anything. So I think like the native debug symbols is working. But the problem is it's generating all this. I don't know which piece that's being generated is the thing it needs to attach to. Contains Kotlin or Java code that Android Studio disassembles from your APK's dex files. Okay. So we should have an app. In theory, we should have like an app Tauri directory, right? So app So there, like, is there going to be a directory that matches this similarly? Maybe. Assets, jni libs. Build. So this looks like all very Tauri specific. Rust Web View, Rye, Logger, IPC, ProGuard, Rye. So that I think is less for the actual app. I don't think anything in the .gradle directory feels. There's Gradle wrapper. I'm not seeing anything in here that looks like the piece that we need to attach to. And I don't know if there's going to be anything in the target directory either. Debug, build. So that's going to be all like Rust stuff, right? So like here's libmobile.so, which is what I think it's pointing to. Nicola, you love the Android development on Tauri? The whole boilerplate is so good. Nice. We're just trying to figure out. So the fact that it's generating files is nice, and sounds like it does it well, which is great to hear. But if we want to like attach the debugger to it, I don't know what sources we're supposed to attach to. Like we've got a whole bunch of generated stuff in here. What's the piece that we would have to point the debugger at so as to yeah, so this is symlinked. It looks like it's symlinked to that Rust target directory. But I don't see anything else that seems like it makes sense for pointing the debugger at. SDK dependency. Oh, here's a mapping. Ooh. Okay. Let's try this program mapping. You usually do cargo Tauri Android dev without a debugger, or an LLVM with VS Code and tasks. Yeah, so the like that starts up this, right? And this does seem to provide a good amount of information. When we were doing iOS a couple weeks ago, we were able to attach to the we were able to attach the process to the iOS simulator or whatever they call it, and be able to see like debug information there. So when one of the processes was crashing, we could see that context there and what was crashing. We were trying to do the same here. We're able to. It seems like we're attached to this debug build. We set the where is it now? There is some place where we configured load ProGuard mappings. Where are you? There was a bit where we were able to connect to the native symbols. Um, in the path mappings, in the path mapping section. So where are you? I don't know where that, like it was a thing that popped up before that said, hey, do this. And we did it and it seemed to have worked. But I don't know how to get the path mappings to come back up. It'd be really helpful. Yes, I agree. Let's try the ProGuard mappings. I'm feel decent about that. There is in, and like that, I'm sure this is something too that we can follow up with. I bet you Lucas would know. Lucas would have the answers. Dev here, here, mobile, Tauri, Gen, Android, app build, outputs, app build, outputs, mapping, this. Okay. So I think I've got ProGuard mappings hooked up now. I mean, there's still a thing here that makes it look like maybe not, but haptics. Like I don't know how to. All right, what if we go in here? Let's look at, say, notification. That one's a lot. Haptics. Haptics is not doing too much. Both in the fact that, okay, so this is still pointing to the .smali, which we wanted to point to the non-built stuff. So still not doing what we're hoping for. Like ideally what we want to do in here is people to like click into here, add a breakpoint and see what happens. Which I think it's this. I think we need to figure out this attach. So if we click into here, it says attach Kotlin Java sources. Navigate to the directory with the apps, Kotlin or Java sources, files, and click open. Let us do a separate search. Android Studio. Attach Kotlin. Okay. Kotlin Lang, sure. It's easy. Build Gradle and Kotlin library has a setting. What if we look at some of these? Is it going to tell us where this stuff is? Can you click to the left of the line you want to add a break to in VS Code? Oh, like in here? So part of it is the, like, if I want to debug a plugin, no, stop. Like in here, right? Let's go to the haptic, and if we go here, and we go into this, and we click haptic, we don't get any breakpoint stuff. So And honestly, I don't expect VS Code to really work with this. I would be happy enough if it worked with this. Zenko, you need to have the APK installed on the emulator. You can make breakpoints in the SMALI files. Okay, so I guess that's something we could try. We have it attached as far as I'm aware. If we go into the, say, haptics and the reading the compiled code is not the nicest. So what if we do, can I add, it doesn't seem to let me. I think it's been, are you sure that you can do it on the .smali files? Because it says to set up breakpoints for debugging, please attach. I think we need to figure out this attach. I think that's the key. What else do we got in these folders? Generated. Intermediates. We got a bunch of stuff in here. So some of it too is the this is like coming in as a plugin through Rust. It might not actually even be showing that plugin code here. We might need to actually point at, like, I don't know how that compilation process works. It could very well be that we need to point at, like, the Rust source. Does that include any of this? So like looking in the Android directory might not actually be the place to look. It could very well be in like the target directory. Did you look in the output in the terminal? Yeah. I mean, this is helpful. There's some context here. We were curious if we could get more context, especially with built binaries, by attaching to the debugger. So the first thing we tried was do npm run Tauri build -- debug. That will give us a debug build. We figured out where that's located and we tried to attach that to the debugger. It seems to maybe have worked, but like the context there is not great because it's using a built binary. And also it wasn't crashing, so we didn't have we didn't have a way to like make an action that would actually potentially show any output in the debugger. But like the profiling could be potentially nice. In either way though, I think in both the --debug pre-built binary and in the thing that's running in dev mode, they're both technically like pre-built binaries. You can attach the like the Kotlin Java sources to that, in which case my expectation is that we could add a breakpoint in the debugger, which would then trigger once we like hit the code in Tauri or like in our Tauri app. So like the idea would be we run in dev, we get it here, we could go in and say click this, and then would hit a breakpoint in our Java code. Cargo, we could try it. You tried to attach an open SSL binary to Tauri, and you could not get it to work yourself. I don't know. I'm okay. Do we have to do cargo, Tauri, cargo? That should work, right? Cargo, Tauri, Android, build, dash, dash, open. I'm going to try it. I don't know if I need to close any of this stuff, but I suppose that's a good point. We should look at the command line. They might just have something in there and I don't have any got the ginger ale. There we go. Not sponsored. Compiling, so much fun. Again, XKCD. Get back to work. What are you doing? We're compiling. Oh, okay. Carry on. All right. Yeah, let's look at I guess while that's running, let's just let it do its thing. If we do npm run Tauri Android dash help. So we got a init dev build and help. So if we say dev help verbose logging, file watcher, open Android Studio instead of trying to run on a connected device. Okay, and that's what we were just trying before, which is still running. Host, no dev server. It feels like the dash dash open is potentially the thing to try here. Good call, Nicola. If it opens up Android Studio and connects to all this stuff, that would be amazing. And then we also that needs to be in the docs. Hopefully it works. It's so close. I hope it doesn't fail because I got stuff open already. It is certainly taking its time though, right? Okay. Okay. What would you new window? Sure. Trust. New window, I guess. Okay. Okay. You might be onto something. Let me just let me just close the stuff. Let's close. Let's go. Maybe success. I just want to like close everything and let's get a fresh sort of fresh state. Remove. Okay, so now if we go, it's still trying to open. Oh, and it doesn't. Oh, so there's two. Oh, there's two. We did a build. I didn't even realize we did a build. Let's try the dev open. I want to see what the dev open looks like first. I don't know if we need to do that or not. Yeah, that's what you saw with Java APKs. It looks like that might be the thing that we were trying to do. You're drinking tonight. Well, apparently, have y'all heard of the the Ballmer's curve? When you start drinking, there's some crossover point where at some point the amount that you've imbibed upon is helping, and then it just drops off a cliff. You might be at that peak right now. This does feel good. I don't. So where how do we see logs? add configurations, attach to emulator, show up. Okay, attach. I think that's what I was supposed to do. Now, if I click one of these, so it says opening Android Studio. It is open. It appears to be open as expected. So now if we look at like if I wanted to put a, hey, okay, sure. Ooh, this looks a lot better. I don't know what happened. Something updated. Haptics. Kotlin and Java. Haptics plugin. Yes. So it must have been like loading stuff in the background. It's indexing. Yeah, I think you're right. I don't see any indication as such. I don't see anything that says a status or that it is indexing, but it seems to have brought in more context, which is great. Now, if we do, let's put a breakpoint right there and let's see what happens. So if we click this, it doesn't have seemed to do anything. Check console. Terminal always have links like dash dash m4 dash dash 1. I mean, it's the end of it. It just says opening Android Studio. Unless there's some other. I mean, it could be that I'm not supposed to do that attached debugger in Android. There's a terminal in debug, you think? So when we were running it without the dash dash open, all of the like terminal stuff was showing up in our terminal where we ran it. Now that we use dash dash open, it says opening Android Studio. I'm assuming that it's relying on Android Studio to have any of that context. But I don't. Running devices? No. Oh. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Android Gradle plugin. I don't know if that's actually needed or not. I don't see anything that has an actual like set of logs. I don't know if that was the right like debug. Let's try it again and see what happens. I don't know if clicking the attach to debugger was the right option, but let's give it another shot and see what happens. Alexi, a little bit off topic, but do you know how to access Tauri state outside of a Tauri command? There is a couple different types of ways you can have state. I suspect what you are interested in is the state contained within if you look at state management, there is the like app state. So app.manage. And then at any point, as long as you can get a handle to the app, there's the app.state. And then it lets you do stuff with it. So you can either do it directly in the Tauri, in a Tauri command on the Rust side of things, or like in any of the, like here. Granted, you said outside of a Tauri command, but like, so this specifically gives you state in the command, but it's on the app handle. So like here's an event handler. It has an event. That event allows you to access the app handle, and when you have an app handle, it has a state object or state mutex. It has the app state. So in anything that any of the functions like setup or uh, event handling or anything else will have a way to access the app handle. And usually I figure that app handle stuff out by playing around with Rust types and relying on Rust to help me out. Okay. Yeah, it's a different kind of terminal, dark with links. It shows all the info. Okay, so this opened up. Different terminal. It says opening Android Studio. There is a terminal in here. I don't know if it's, I think I just reordered it. I don't know if that's the one that you're talking about. Oh, I closed it. Oh, it's interesting that it like opened up a terminal in that. That is very interesting. Logcat? Oh, Logcat. Is that what you're thinking about? So we click this. We get hapticing and hapticing done, and Logcat appears to be the thing that was being piped into the terminal before. So I think that's potentially what you're talking about, Nicola. That looks like it has the information we want. That was just my fire alarm doing a self check. If you could hear that. Alexi, you're trying to get in the Rust code to let you do like secret state. I think I know what you're trying to do. I'm presuming you've looked at the state management based on how you're asking your question. I think the piece that you're getting stuck on though is how to get the handle. So in each one of these, like whatever is the thing that's containing the function that you're running. So like the function, a window event or however you're accessing or doing it in the context of Tauri. Those args, if you do like a event dot and sort of like search through this stuff or look at the types there. I mean, you can potentially mention where you're trying to do it, because we know it's not in a command, right? There's the app.manage, and that is also like app is an app handle. So you could in the setup do this. But wherever you're trying to do it, there's going to be some context of Tauri. And so if you're not doing it in a command, you might be doing it in the context of like this window handler or window event, and then that lets you get access to this, which gives you the app handle. App handle is the same thing as app. You don't have access to app variable. What's the context, or where are you trying to access this? If it's like some outside function, you're probably gonna eventually have to wire it up to like the dot setup, or you're gonna have to wire it up to one of these other builder APIs in the main function. You might need to have like a function that like wires it up to and sets it up with like main setup or something. You could also, we've got the showcase in the Tauri Discord if you're in there. You could drop it in there if you've got a code snippet or something like that. But in some way, you're going to need to pass and get that app state. all the code that's. I'm also wondering too if YouTube chat is like, what is this, and starts just like moderating it out, and so then it's just this weird snippets that happen to go through the moderation and snippets that didn't. Once lock arc read write lock my state as static. What would that give you, Zenko? Is that the like you're getting it's on the it's a state that's attached to the app, right? So you've got this. So you're doing it in new mutex. Are you thinking that? Yeah, like you might be able to define the state and have a access to the state in your function prior to actually passing it to like Tauri to then manage it. But then you also might start running into like ownership issues, which is ownership in Rust can be a little bit of work. If you get the types working out though, usually it ends up actually running. It's outside of Tauri context. Okay. Yeah. So then you're setting up this state external to Tauri, potentially keeping a handle to it or something, and then passing that off to Tauri to then have access to. Yeah, I feel like in general, we need a little bit more information. Because if you're doing it in the context of most things within Tauri, like .setup has access to the app handle. Commands have, where's the command at? Yeah, commands just give you the state directly, so you can just use it. On window event, you can get to the app handle. So in all those places, you can get to the states somehow. So if you're doing it outside of that, then there might need to be more context on why you're doing it. Or you establish it outside and then pass it in, similar to, like what would I guess Zenko was talking about. Okay, so this is running. This appears to be attached. Logcat, yes. We get logs here. So I mean, honestly, I don't mind this. I would almost prefer this over the piped in thing, because this is a little bit more readable, and I can also do filters, which is pretty nifty. Except I can't do so mine, package mine, yeah. So like that's pretty sweet. And I think this is probably going to give you a lot of information. And like this is the thing that's already piped in too. And if we click like in here, do we get more logs? Yeah, so you can see here it's in, this is in our app. And then we got a whole bunch more information here. So if we say package mine, all right. So here's our information. So I think the reason to do this would be if it can do a breakpoint, like we want to know exactly where it's failing, like at what line, and profiling. Those would probably be the main reasons that you would want to see information here. And so that being said, we have a breakpoint here. I don't know which one is actually. Like, we could just throw a bunch of breakpoints in here, just see what happens. Like it seems to always pass. So I could very well just be in the wrong spot. Haptics plugin patterns. What about the notifications? Can we get a notification plugin? Yeah, see, like this is definitely not all of the code. On intent, trigger notification. I just wanted to breakpoint to know that like this is doing the thing that we're expecting it to do. Check permission state, get. You can set up watchers. Yeah. Debugs, a debug breakpoint or a watcher would be real nice. I mean, in either way, the here trigger notification has got to be it, right? So if we say hello, greet. It doesn't actually seem to be breaking, which is odd. Clear. Export. Oh, okay. There's a debug. Device supports ARM x86 ARM, but APK only supports that. I don't know that that's going to work. Oh, there's a profiler. Here we go. Profiler run app as debuggable. It seems to maybe be doing something. It's hard to tell. Oh. What does this say? Execution failed. Okay, so the debug thing is not appearing to. Yeah, so we might have to do something with this. Device supports. So that I'm assuming that's like my computer is x86 or ARM, but that APK that's being built only supports. I mean, it's like an ARM thing for that. So we would maybe have to do. Run debug configurations. Show logcat automatically. And then APK from app bundle. I'm going to try that. Yeah. So this looks like the same thing that was running before. Try run with dash info or dash bug debug or run with scan to get full insights. But our commands don't actually seem to say anything about that. So we might be in the like, this would be cool, but nobody has done this really yet. Because if we do the same here, there's a no watch and an open as well. Build output. Oh, hey, look at that. that wasn't there before. Curious. Well, this seems to be attached to that one now. So it is looking at, so it's like open up that project. So if we just do a, I mean, there's verbose logging, which is kind of nice, but like it should just be running now. If you click the link in the terminal, it'll do things. Oh, run with scan info debug. Oh, okay, okay. Which is what I think we had before. I think that's the same thing as me clicking it up here. Oh, you had this problem before. Go to build variant, and select x86. Build variant. Select build variant. Wait. Okay. So what if we go into, let's try now try doing this now. Because we need it running, because we need both the Rust side of things to do the compilation, and we need the server running. Good, thanks for pointing that out, Mati. Is it Mati or Matty? So now with it running, if we do debug, okay. If we go into build and select build variant, oh, 64 debug. Okay. And then we do debug. Okay, opening. There's connections. This is execution failed. I can't click it. Build failed. Not entirely helpful. What if we just run the profiler? Have you installed the Android SDK? Okay, so it's still failing. Active build variant. I think that's right. You tried. Hey, no, I mean, I appreciate it. It's feels like further than we were before. What if I do the universal? So the universal was the, is that it? The universal is what we were attaching to before. Oh, have you installed the Android SDK, the Android home environment variable? This might not actually have the Android home, Android studio environment variables. Terminal. Oh, gosh. All right. Okay, so now if we say, can we do echo? I don't remember if echo is Android home. Yes, it's not set. So what if we set that real quick? Guides, prereqs. So when we're running it, it's opening up Android Studio. Now our terminal isn't the thing that's actually handling all of that. I have these variables, environment variables, as noted here. Those are configured. Yeah, these are configured in new shell for me, not at the OS level. So if I do this, this is PowerShell. I can tell because it's PS. Can I make that bigger? No, I can't really zoom in, can I? Resize. I want to zoom in. Okay. If I just put these in here, is that going to then work? Oh, is it still? Oh no. Echo. Java home. Do. Okay. Let's try that again. I don't know why it wasn't working before. Just like gets stuck. Is it env? It could be. I don't like it just stops. I think that's part of the root issue here though. Echo I don't know my PowerShell very well off the top of my head. PowerShell echo environment variable. Yes, it looks like you're correct. Echo Java home doesn't seem to be set. Wasn't it echo home? Like this. Home? I think it's just Java home. Unless I'm missing something. I don't know why those aren't completing. Do I need to yeah, okay. I mean, suppose I could just add these at the operating system level. Yeah, Java home. Okay. Did not like the user. Well, here, let me echo it quick. Echo. There we go. Now do this. I'm not sure why it's not liking the user, but like if it's at the if it's defined at the OS level, I'm honestly okay with that. Okay, so now if we do an echo Android home, we don't get anything, but that is potentially because we need to reload. Terminal, now echo env Android home. Echo this. Okay, that's set. And Java home is set, right? Echo Java home. No. Okay, well, this is annoying. Let us do... I mean, I could put them at the operating system level, but I don't have a way to configure it just in here, do I? Yeah, like it, I mean, I don't ever use PowerShell, which is part of the reason. So I think this is the PowerShell that's on my system. Oh, settings. Oh. Um, can I change? Enable new? Develop tab local. Shell path. I don't see a way that I can like add another terminal in here. And also I don't know that it's gonna work well with that. Here, let me do let's open up PowerShell separately. PowerShell. And we're going to run as administrator. And let's just try running it in an administrator version and see if it will, see if it'll work. Oh, yeah, that's what's set in here. Where's that Java JDK 22 come from? That's what they have in the docs here too. Set it to Android Studio. I hate that it's all like driven off of these environment variables and stuff because like I feel like anytime I touch Java, it's just you install it separately. Ah, okay. Yeah, I feel like every time I touch Java, it's like 2 weeks of trying to get it all configured for like 5 minutes of actual use. I mean, to be honest, like Java and C is part of the reason I was just passing off programming is not something I was interested in doing because it just feels like pain. Like the perception that I see is pain, and it doesn't. Oh, okay. Well, it copied weird. I don't know if it'll work. Also, I don't know why it's taking so long. The other one seemed to work, but also like, what is it doing? It can't be setting it for the session. User must be setting it for the user, so it's got to be doing it at the operating system level. Which on this system I'm fine with. I'm only ever going to do Java with Android. That is the only time I'll touch it on this computer. Oh my goodness, come on. You can do it. So if this is doing it at the, I guess while that's running, can I do, I'm going to open it up on the side here. Environment, edit, up here. Okay. It lists an Android home now and Java home. So that is a good sign. Yeah. This is all fine to show. Yeah, that's what I was checking. All right, it finished. And NDK home, I don't see that, but also I might have just opened it before that is set. NDK, so system variables. I don't see NDK. I see Android Home. So I'm gonna assume that this didn't work. So I'm gonna go like this, and then I'm gonna go like this, and let that run again. Because I don't see an NDK home. I see an Android home and I see a Java home now. So I'm thinking that paste with the why can't I? There we go. Zoom. These, whatever you call them in this greater than signs. They like, I can't tell if they came in with the paste or if it was a PowerShell thing. I don't know offhand, but I'm wondering if those messed it up. I can't believe this takes so long. I mean, I guess it's an operating system level thing at this point, but like, oh my gosh. You have to install NDK from SDK tools and Android Home. Yes, we should have that. Okay, I think that is good. Let us open and close. I don't see it in here, which is kind of weird. Echo env, and what was it? NDK home. Okay. Echo env version. All right. So let's do a dir this. Ugh. Come on. Copy. Dir. I don't know if it'll let me. Oh my gosh. I am just like mixing up like 4 different. Here we go. Okay. Yes. All right. We got a 26 and a 28. So then let's do a this, and we'll do a. Gosh. I'm like bouncing between multiple different shells and operating systems, and I'm like just completely messing up my copying and pasting here. All right, I think we can do this. So env local data. For some reason, like this get child doesn't seem to be working as we were expecting it to. So all that's doing is a fancy way to grab what the first child in the NDK is. So it's installed. For some reason, we have 2 of them. I don't see a way in the SDK manager to delete the old one. So, but yes, the SDK manager, as noted in the prerequisites, we confirmed at the beginning of the stream, Nicola, that we had all 5 of those things installed. Come on. So in theory, when that is done, I guess while that's running, we can go in here. We can do an echo env java home. That should in theory be, why? Does this not spawn like a new context every time you do a new terminal? Like, what is the deal with this? Echo Java. I mean, it's okay. So that's right, and then but that is set. So why do you have to close the app? Why don't they redo the session? That is just Oh my goodness. Okay. 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 All right. Let's just close, 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 close. Restart. Go ahead. Try it again. Open the thing. Hopefully it all works now. Okay. Let's just double check here. Echo Java home. Why is it not set? I mean, it's at the operating system. Like, I'm slowly losing my voice here. It's at the operating system level, so it should be able to see them now. Do I have to like close the whole project and Android Studio? I hope not. Um, the whole Android Studio. Oh my, Android Studio. Why? Okay, okay. I don't know if I have to close the emulator now, but goodbye. Close this. Let us. Okay, NDK home is set. I have confirmed it in that. Now let's do this, and we'll try that again. Darth Buddha. You wanted to get a value from a store. It's a string, but when you use toString, it did not work. Did it say something about a trait? There's a. I'm rusty on my terminology. But I think you need to define the trait for any of those conversions. And there's a derive, I believe, macro. There's like some macro that you can put on something that will kind of do a bunch of those like standard default ones. But if it hasn't done that or defined it, then it won't know what the like toString would be. Okay. Android Studio is open. Let's running devices. Oh, okay, it worked. I closed it too soon. Connecting to emulator. Okay. Oh, it does the emulator right in here. I actually don't hate that. I don't mind it being self-contained like that. Okay. Debug. So we have build variants set to universal debug. We've clicked debug. We have updated our. Let's look at the build stuff. This seems better. This, I mean, sure, fine. Like, that's not a big deal. We're getting a little bit of context in our terminal, as in like this one way down there. Everything though now is showing up in this one, which is kind of what we were expecting, and it seems to actually be getting further. Warnings are not a big deal. It seemed to be getting further than it was before, probably because we have those environment variables set now. So if this is working as we're expecting it to, we are now running it in Android Studio with its debug build. Our Tauri command is handling running the Rust and the Rust build stuff. Maybe not the Rust build stuff, but like it has some of those things bootstrapped and generated, and it's running the server still, I believe. AP keys have been extracted. Oh, okay. This looks very good. build analyzer results are available. Object is being initialized. We don't we might be getting an issue with, if we look at the app info here. Okay, permissions are still set for it. We're still good with those. Allow and allow. Come on. Oh, it just like crashed at me. We do have a bunch of breakpoints and stuff, but I don't see any. Like, this feels like the best that we've gotten so far. Resume. Oh. Oh, hey, I think we got it. I think we might have got it. So now, application is running. If we hit this one, I don't see any actual, like, problems. Logcat. Could not find frame. Oh, hey, okay. Allow is permission granted. Uncaught and promise. Notification is permission granted, not allowed on window main. Okay. So we're getting something here. If we go into here, we don't need to worry about the like gotta keep the comments in there. We don't have to worry as much about the build issues that we were running into before that I was complaining about that I didn't think really made a difference. All right, so that should give us a page load. And we can double check that it's doing the hot module reloading still by, if we just change some text on the top on Android Studio. So if we do that, it's reloading immediately. And now if we click the haptic feedback, we get hapticking and hapticking done. We are not getting a breakpoint though. So let's take some of these breakpoints off. Is there a way we can view tools, view, appearance? Okay. Navigation. I want to be able to see like a watchers panel. So we had mentioned before, like being able to watch. So add, like here's the invoke resolve, add book or add book, add bookmark. We can add a breakpoint here. Line breakpoint enabled, suspend all. Then we can do a condition. More. Okay, so this is the breakpoints panel. This is nice. Enabled. We can evaluate and log. Breakpoint hit message. Sure, let's see that. So now we can do done. And if we hit haptic, I'm not seeing anything here in logcat. And our debugging actions, pause program, get thread dump, toggle breakpoint. View breakpoints. Okay. Exception breakpoints and Java exception breakpoints. And so we should suspend if we hit this, right? It seems like we're not actually suspending. And we can like toggle them on and off. So we can add a line breakpoint here. And then it'll show up in this list, which is nice. And we might need to like turn it off and on again or something. We also have one in a notification. Let's go ahead and do a notification and see if that does anything. Hello, friends. My spelling there is great. Okay, we got a notification and a break. It broke. It broke. Nice. So it stopped there and it broke in a good way. So now we can step through. There's a resume. If you've worked with debuggers before, what's nice is you can stop and then you can step through each piece from here, and we can look at like debugging actions. So here we can step into, step through. So each one of these like little things we can step by step. So we can know exactly where, if something is like hard crashing, we can know exactly where it fails through this. And this is running with the dev. So we don't have to have like a whole build and everything. So we can get very specific about figuring out and debugging our actual like Kotlin code that we're writing. So this is great. This is nice. The watch. Can we add a watch? Add. These are all breakpoint. Oh, here we go. Add Kotlin property watch points. Property name. I'm not going to be active notification. Sure. String. Yeah. Let's go with that. Okay. Now. And yes, you can. So we're still broken. We can actually see that context too. So just by like hovering over it, we can start to see some of this context here. So instance, we can look at the activity. One of these is going to have like the actual content of the notification. Log tag, permission state, maybe this one. I'm not exactly sure where it's going to be, but this flag, I'm guessing, also means that we will keep track of it. Notification manager, maybe. This starts to get into Kotlin. So if we want to know more information about this and like where we would look, we're probably looking at Kotlin/Android. And we can figure out where that message is actually stored. But like here, in our code, we're storing a tag, which is a string. So I think if we watch that as well, when we've got a property watch point. So we are watching it. We're going to turn this off, and we would be able to then say resume. And if we type in, can we see this? We got the dingy ding, and we are watching it for property modification. It's enabled. Do we see it in logcat? Request cursor update. I'm just trying to figure out like where we would maybe see this. Log breakpoint hit message, stack trace. Did it actually break at it? No, it didn't break. Watch property access, property modification. I don't really care about exceptions or anything. I just want to like log it out or be able to like view it. It might be like if I hit another breakpoint, then we could see that value at that breakpoint. Let's give that a shot real quick. So we'll do that. Let us greet again. We broke it. So now can we see that value? Instance, trigger object, log tag. I'm not, we'd have to look a little bit more into the debugger, but like this is very much Android Studio. So if you want, like if the thing that you're working on requires you to actually like dig into it this deeply, I think we figured out how to do it. Now it's just, I haven't used this debugger, so I'm less familiar with it. But the other debuggers that I've used, you can like watch values and see them change as the program is running. You can put breakpoints to stop, and then you'd be able to see anything you're watching, the values at that current time. You can, I'm assuming you could do it with this one, but you could like break whenever the value changes. Yeah, you can suspend all instant. Yeah, there's filters for stuff too. So anytime it's modified, it's watching for when it's modified. I'm guessing it's, yeah, okay, so like suspend versus not. So maybe that's the bit. We are watching the wrong thing, I imagine. So we were with this, it should have broke and then showed us the value. But honestly, I'm not too worried about it. I think we got the debugger working. It's breaking. Now it's just, do we understand how to use the debugger in Android Studio? So, device manager, debugger. This was actually a little bit more involved to get the debugger working. Was there anything else that we wanted to do? Profiler. Can we see the profiler at all? Profiler, run app as profilable. I don't know if that's going to rerun it. Okay. Saying it tasks. It looks like it's going to rerun it. Okay. That's fine. I think that's probably the last bits. So this is going to give you see all of your plugins here. You are then able to, in the Kotlin code, be able to breakpoint on specific spots. So you can write your code, you can write it as a plugin or in your app. It will breakpoint. You can watch it and debug it all off of just like the dev build. And then we should be able to profile it here. It still seems to be running. So I've done debugging, much less in JavaScript than I have other languages. I've done little profiling, at least in the context of like having it wired up to debugger. So we'll see where or what that looks like, because I'm not certain where we would see that or what to expect with it. I mean, it seems like it's working. Run. Do we have any? Oh, here, profiler. All right. Okay. Analyze memory usage. Okay, capture system activities. View live telemetry. That seems nifty. Okay, here we go. We got like a render thread stuff. So now if we look at the devices, we can go into and say all the haptic feedback, and we'll see things like blah, 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 blah. Greet. There. And we can see the our code and graphics, native Java. Looks like we're using about 100 megabytes of RAM, I'm presuming. Yeah, memory. This is a memory profile. So we're getting live telemetry through the emulator of the memory profile. So we can do CPU hotspots, track memory consumption. Oh, and we can see native allocations between. Okay, so this is just all of them, and we can record it too as we do stuff. Reset zoom. Let's try the find CPU hotspots, and we'll see what that looks like. All right, so now if we do a greet and a haptic feedback, I have no idea what any of these are going to do. Stop. Okay, yeah, this is pretty nifty. So if you really need to dig into it, you can actually like, and you know, when people are like, "Is it performant?" and you're like, "I need a lot more context." That question is very vague, but also can go very deep. This kind of stuff is, if you're really digging into and wanting to understand the performance profile of something, this is the stuff you end up having to do. You get like flame graphs, and you can look at the memory and CPU profiles and stuff and see. You could do this in the browser too. Like if we go here and we go into the performance, environment here, record. So we refresh and then stop. This makes a profile. So this kind of thing is the same sort of thing that we're seeing here, just looks slightly different. So we can see using this or using this where we're doing a lot of work. And this ends up being like kind of a whole focus up for some folks. Getting into the nitty gritty and understanding why something's moving slow. So if this looks intimidating, don't feel bad, because it is just like somebody's can be very good at the front end in CSS. Somebody can be also very good at doing this, and those type of folk might not, the Venn diagram of folk might not be the same. Don't feel bad about it. But if you really need to dig into and understand why something's going slow, you look at a call stack like this to try to understand, as it's going through and executing all this stuff, why is this function taking so long to execute? And in the same way, like we can look at the render thread here and see render thread start time. So we can see like this is the longest running events, the top 10. So we get the thread loop. Flame chart, here we go. Yeah, so we can see draws. There's probably not going to be too much to look at here because like we're just clicking on a couple buttons. But if it's doing a lot of work in the background, like we're doing something with video, or like we could maybe try the scan. If I knew how to get back out of the scan, uh, or we had enough UI there that we could get back to. Actually, I say that. Let's try that real quick. Let's do a find CPU hotspots. Start profiler task. It is recording. I'm gonna hit scan. It opened up the camera. It's doing some stuff in the background, but like whatever. I'm just gonna stop it. Here we go. You can see the camera. Camera's coming in. Camera manage. Camera core. And you can see that CPU spike. So the moment we click the camera button, we got a thread doing a bunch of work. And then camera, this collapse frames. I'm not huge with this graph, but I think I prefer the flame charts for viewing this, but you can kind of see where we press the button and then all these threads spin up. And we're doing kernel, lib bar hopper. Sparking the threads. Like you can really dig into it. Thread time versus wall time. So I think we kind of hit on all the stuff we need to. If you really need to dig into performance, debug your code with an Android, it seems like dash open is the way to go. That wires up all the stuff for you automatically. It allows you to do the profiler and the debugger, and you might need to pay attention to when you're running those, what or where your environment variables are set, so that the task runner within Android Studio is still able to get those environment variables. But it all kind of just works once we know which command to use. And you can really dig into all the internals through Android Studio, and it can very much feel like you're developing a Android Studio app directly rather than using Tauri. I think that's kind of it that I wanted to do with this. We were talking about doing potentially hooking up Android Studio with an actual like device. I've got an old device here. It's also been like 4 hours almost. And I haven't turned it on, and I have no idea what state it's in and stuff. So maybe that'll be next stream. Does that feel like a good next stream? And then we might take a break on mobile stuff for a little bit. The definitely not next week. I'll have to double check. But next week for sure no, because holidays. The week after that, I can't remember what my schedule looks like. So we might be in a little bit of a break, at least as far as streams go. Hopefully, I can get some other content out for everybody. But it might have to be in 3 weeks. So we'll see. But I think that feels like a good next time. We've got stuff set up. I think we solved a bunch of issues. It seems like everybody's vibing with stuff, which is great to see. I love it. Thanks for hanging out, everybody. Yeah, next time we'll try getting it running on this. I feel like we're very we're more adept with how this all works in Android Studio now, which is great. So have a great rest of your week, everybody. Have a great holidays. Oh, well, okay. Real quick, Waterfox. HBO Max is so much clearer, really. The browser matters. I did not try Waterfox. I looked at it. But I'm not like keen on using Firefox just because I would like something to work. I'll probably still have Firefox on the side for use anyways. But I gave Vivaldi a try, and honestly, I kind of like it. Unfortunately their sync system is down and has been down for like 2 weeks, which is unfortunate because that's one of the things that I really was wanting to use and test it out. So like I'm reserving my official decision until I test out the sync, but I might be using Vivaldi for a little bit. But Waterfox did seem cool. If I'm at the point where I just want my browser to work, and I'm sick of changing. So like, yeah. All right. Have a great rest of your week, everybody. Happy Tuesday. I will have a good holiday next week too. For those that are partaking. Um, Otherwise, I'll see you towards the end of the year or in the new year. Hit the subscribe button and uh, get the notifications for whenever I schedule the next one. And I'll see you then. Emulated devices, Android. Bye. Button. Got it now. Bye.